All right, just one more time quickly for those who just joined us. If you have any questions throughout today's presentation, please use the Q&A box or the chat. And then at the end, we will open it up for folks to ask questions directly using your microphones if you use the raise hand option. So with that being said, Lydia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining. My name is Lydia Brinkley. I work for the Upper Susquehanna Coalition as the buffer coordinator. I'd like to welcome everybody to week number 3 of Watershed Wednesdays. These are hosted by the USC and the Otsego County Conservation Association. These weekly sessions are taking the place of the Upper Susquehanna Watershed Forum for 2021. We will be holding our sessions every Wednesday through October at 9:30, just like today, and the full schedule is posted on our website and Facebook page. You can sign up for email announcements so you can get reminders and save it on your calendar. Today's presentation is from Dan Rhodes. Dan works for the Bradford County Conservation District. There he is. After graduating from Binghamton University with a bachelor's in environmental studies and ecology in 2006, Dan worked a few varieties of natural resource conservation jobs, and in 2010 started working for the Bradford County Conservation District as the environmental education coordinator. While not at the district, Dan enjoys being with family and friends and spending time outdoors, practicing wilderness survival skills, building longbows, tanning hides, hunting, fishing, and hiking. So today, Dan is going to give us a presentation about underwater drones and how they can be used in your education and outreach programs. Take it away, Dan.
Thanks so much. That was an awesome introduction. Yep, thanks for having me here today, and I hope I can share a lot of information with everybody about how we're using this new technology to kind of create a new platform for underwater aquatic environmental education programming efforts. To kind of give you a little background as far as where this came from, it was all definitely born out of the pandemic. My position takes me to a lot of schools, a lot of private groups, clubs, basically anybody with a natural resource, environmental ed question or need, gets in touch with me, and I set up programming where I'm there specifically myself to give the programming, and all that basically went away, of course. So if I couldn't take people out in nature and I couldn't interact with them, directly, I thought, what could I do to come up with something that isn't what everybody is already doing. So I thought, man, wouldn't it be interesting? I can't take people out to streams to show them macroinvertebrates and fish and things, but wouldn't it be interesting if I could show it to them virtually, especially things in their own backyard that they might not have ever seen before? Because I thought, man, if you look at aquatic videos, any kind of underwater film videos, educational videos, it's almost always the case that they're filmed in the ocean. So I thought, man, it's, people are missing out on the freshwater environments in their own area. And wouldn't it be cool if we could provide something along those lines to them? So that's kind of where I thought, man, it would be awesome if we could get a remote control vehicle and mount a camera to it. And then I just started doing some random research, and I found out they already make those. People make those underwater drones. You can buy them, and I had no idea that they were already out there, but I've never heard of anybody else using them. It was really a big learning process of wading through like how they work and if they would work in these environments, the different options, the different companies, the different models you could get. It was actually a big learning curve to get through all that. And then once I did get the equipment, learning how to use it, put together video, edit the video, post the video. There's all these different steps, but it was definitely worth it. And I feel like we came out the other side here with a great platform that keeps getting better and better as we go. So I've already produced about 7 different videos, and I filmed somewhere around 10 or 12 different species of fish, including largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, bullheads, let's see, yellow perch, pumpkin seed sunfish. It goes on and on, trout. But my goal is to try to film as many freshwater species of fish, aquatic amphibians, even reptiles, mammals, birds that live in Pennsylvania or New York State as I can. So in the near future, I plan to hopefully take the drone up to some of the Finger Lakes to do some deep diving with it. I plan to go to Kowaleski Lake in Tioga County, PA, to hopefully film some muskies and possibly the Pine Creek area of Tioga County. There's some really good freshwater mussel beds in there that I hope to film as well. So some of those topics I really like, especially when you can tie the organism to a historical and or current natural resource issue. So freshwater mussels are a great one. And you might think, oh, that's pretty boring. But you know, it ties into water quality immensely and the ecological need to realize that, you know, different species rely on each other. And once we start disrupting their ability to migrate or reproduce, you know, the entire system is in trouble. So there's it's a great hook with these programs to delve into, you know, the conservation side of things as well. So you might be wondering, what does the drone look like? You know, how big is it? How does it work? So let me turn the camera around so you can see it here. Okay, so this is the one that we have. There's lots of them out there, like I said. This one is classified as a light industrial drone. It's made by a company called Chasing. And the model is the Chasing M2. And this one, it has a lot of cool features that I thought really were far and away better than a lot of the other ones that I saw for the price. For one thing, once you start looking into this, you'll notice some of them or a lot of them do not have batteries that you can take out and replace with a new battery. You'd think that would be an intuitive thing if you're, you know, thinking about a remote control vehicle, but a lot of the batteries in the cheaper drones, underwater drones, they're integral to the drone itself. So you have to take the whole drone out and stick the drone on a charger instead of just being able to remove a battery and put a new one in. So this one had a removable battery pack, and even since we purchased this one, which was back in February of this year, there's been a lot of new models from other companies that are now offering, you know, the battery exchangeable battery units. So the technology keeps changing dramatically, really quickly. The prices are getting better. This one, that was the other thing. Price is a big deal. This is a light industrial unit, but it wasn't like out of sight. You could pay, if you wanted to buy, you know, an industrial grade unit, you could easily get into $10,000 or more in cost. So that's a big limiting factor. This one was about $2,500. And then with the accessories, it was about $5,000 total, roughly $5,000 to $6,000, I think it was. But all the accessories, you know, really made this one easy to use and successful to use in the environments I was planning to take it in. So let me show you a couple other bits of the highlights here, the equipment. So here we have the remote controller and an electronic reel. Okay, if you can see this. This is an iPad mounted to a remote controller. The remote controller is connected to the reel right there by this wire. The reel is connected to the tether. There's actually 600 feet of tether right there, which connects to the drone itself. So there is a wireless connection between the remote controller and the drone when you first start it up. But after that, all the connection basically goes through the tether. You don't have to have cell phone or internet Wi-Fi service to be able to make it all work, which is nice because most of the places I use this, there is no service. Besides that, let me think. Oh, I didn't mention, this thing does have a pretty cool robotic arm on it that you can use to pick up really anything you want off the bottom. It has dual 2000 lumen LED lights on it too. So you can see in really dark places. And the diving depth rating is 328 feet or 100 meters. So this thing can go really deep. It can run about with the two, we only have 2 batteries for it. But with those 2 batteries, I can usually get about 3.5 to 4 hours of dive time with like constant movement. The other awesome feature of this thing is that it has an automatic software stabilization system in it that when you put it in moving water, like a creek or something, it actually, the propellers actually stabilize it underwater automatically. So you don't have to constantly fight the current. If you want it to stay in one spot, it does that really well. So let me show you a quick clip here of one of the videos I made recently. It's like, I think about 5 or 6 minutes. I don't have to show the whole thing, but just to give you an idea of kind of what is possible. hopefully you get an idea. If you want to check out the videos that are not breaking up and kind of grainy there, you can check it out on our Facebook page, the Bradford County Conservation District's Facebook page, and our YouTube channel. All of our videos are posted right on there, but hopefully that at least gives you an idea of what the video quality is and how easy it is actually to get up into a place where you can film lots of cool things. So I guess at this point, I'll open it up to questions. If you have any, be happy to answer them.
Folks, if you'd like to, you're welcome to put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A box, or if you'd like to ask them yourself, just raise your hand and we can open up your microphone. We've got a couple questions coming in, Dan. The first one is, how much was the drone again? Just to reiterate.
Yeah. The drone itself was about $2,500, and then the accessories that we bought with it brought it up to $5,000 or $6,000, somewhere in there. But there were some that you didn't have to get that just make it a lot easier, like the electronic e-reel that we got. That was like $700 just for that reel. But with a 600-foot tether, it really ends up being a huge, almost a necessity, because I mean, if you're cranking in that much tether, it can get by hand, it can really get tangled up, and there's a lot of issues with that. So it makes life a lot easier to get the accessories that make it easier to use.
Awesome. Do the propellers kick up sediment?
Yes, they do, but not as much as you'd think. You have to get really close to the bottom, like within probably an inch or two, to end up kicking up any sediment. So it's fairly easy to avoid that once you get used to driving the drone and just keeping it out of trouble. Interestingly, though, even if it does kick up a little sediment, usually the sediment settles pretty quickly. The other interesting side benefit of that, believe it or not, is that fish tend to be attracted to it. So if you notice in that little video clip, even though it was kind of broke up a bit, the fish are kind of swimming right up to it. And the reason I think for that is that the drone will actually kick up macroinvertebrates and stuff that are hiding in different places, and gives them, a way to get those animals for food. So it's funny though, different fish have different personalities with it. Largemouth bass are really attracted to it. Other fish are scared to death of it. It's weird.
Awesome.
Can you
Thank
collect water or sediment samples with the drone? What was the last part of that?
Or buy an attachment to do so. We've got a couple others questions as well.
Yes, there are definitely several different attachments for water quality analysis that you can get with this. I didn't go with that as much as just using this as an environmental education tool, but there's a ton of different probes and water quality parameter measurements you can take with this. The way it is, just from the factory, this will actually take real-time water temperature readings for you at different depths. So that's one thing, but if you want to learn about, dissolved oxygen and some other parameters, you can get those add-ons for it if you want.
Wonderful. Our next question is addressing biosecurity between lakes. Do you rinse, drain, and dry? Do you spray it with any solutions?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Yeah, basically we treat this similar to what you would do for a boat. As far as biosecurity, invasive, aquatic invasives, risk mitigation. So yeah, I definitely do a visual inspection after I take it out. I try to get any kind of plant material out of or off the drone before I leave. And then after I leave, I let it dry out for a while, rinse it off again. And I've been trying to search different things, different products that you could use to maybe kill off different possible hitchhikers. I think zircon was one that I read about, but I can't remember the name exactly. But then I found out that it wouldn't kill zebra mussel eggs. That was one thing I was concerned about. I haven't run into a situation where I've been driving it into a place full of invasives, which is good. But yeah, if I end up in that position, I'm definitely going to be drying it out and cleaning it a lot more thoroughly than I do for the regular biosecurity stuff. So yeah, if you're driving it in the same body of water over and over, you don't have to worry about that. But the other good thing is there's at least a couple weeks in between when I use it from one place to another. So all those things, those factors add up to mitigating the risk quite a bit when you're inspecting everything, you're washing it, you're rinsing it, you're cleaning it, and you're letting it dry out. That's about as best as I can do. You also have to be careful with it. Like you can't actually run the drone in like chlorinated water. For instance, I was going to try to learn how to use it in a pool when I first got it, but then I found out the chlorinated water can corrode some of the parts. So you can't just throw it in a solution of, bleach or something and think, that'll be fine, but because it could hurt the drone. So you got to be careful with that too.
Absolutely. Our next question here is, do you ever bait the robotic arm?
Do I ever bait it?
Yes. Yes.
I haven't tried that.
Right, to have some additional fish join you, not just looking for macroinvertebrates, but
yeah,
provide a treat for them.
Could do that. I've watched videos of people that have done that, and it could work. What I have found with this thing though is if you go slowly, you don't really need to use any bait, because if you go slowly, the thing is so quiet underwater that typically you can just sneak up on fish. As long as you're in the biggest thing, are you in the right spot to find them in their natural habitat? So typically, I've always wondered myself, I know most fish like different kinds of structures underwater, but how often are they outside of those areas? And the answer I found is not very often. They spend almost all their time within their preferred structure areas that they typically inhabit. So you're driving it around and you won't see hardly any fish outside of those zones where they hang out most of the time. So as long as you're moving slowly and you're not making aggressive movements, typically you can really sneak up on fish without scaring them away pretty well. So the other question, how deep can it go? 100 meters is the depth rating on this one. So that's like 328 feet. You can buy other ones that'll go deeper that are a little more expensive. But most of those go like almost 500 feet. Once you get over 500 feet, you're really into some heavy duty industrial ones that could cost $10,000 or more.
Gotcha. And the next question here is, can you geolocate things for mapping purposes?
Geolocate. So my guess is you're saying, can you mark through a GPS where you are? I haven't gotten into that much, and I don't know if that is possible. It might be possible because you're on the remote control, as I was showing you. You have either your phone. You can either use your phone or a tablet, an iPad on the phone. So if you have other apps on there that could do that, I'm not sure. I guess I'm really not sure yet if that's how feasible that is. I'd have to look that up. But so far I haven't really had to do that, because most of the places where I go, it's like, you can remember where you were when you hit, a major spot where you want to come back to. But that's a good question. I'm guessing
be a fun adventure for next time.
I'm quite confident that it would be possible with one of these units. I'm not sure if this one does it or if you'd have to get a more industrial grade one, but
Okay.
I'm sure it is possible somewhere along the line.
Perfect. We think that this was answered before, but just double checking. How deep, what's the minimum water level? So how deep does the water have to be able to use the drone?
This one, that was the other thing. They're all shaped a little bit differently, the drones. Some of them are they're a little bit taller than they are wide. So this one is actually pretty thin. So I can actually drive this in without the robotic arm on. I take that off if I'm going to go in really shallow water. Actually, I don't even put the robotic arm on most of the time anyway, because it takes a lot more battery to have that on there. There's a little more drag in the water. So unless I really have a need to put it on, which I usually don't, I don't put it on. But typically about 6 to 12 inches is about the minimum depth. So, I mean, barely, if the water is barely deep enough to cover the drone, it can basically go.
Wow, that's
Yep.
impressive. Another question here, can you zoom the camera lenses?
Nope, I don't think I can. It's the camera system on this one. It's an EIS, image stabilization camera with 4K on it. So it's quite high definition, which is, it's interesting because it's way higher definition than anything will let you post on anywhere. So like every time you make a video, it's like, you know, you're working with it. It's like, oh, wow, that's super sharp. And then you post it on Facebook or YouTube and it's like half the resolution than it was. So my guess is though, if you wanted to zoom in on stuff, you can easily do that with your video editing software as well while you're working with it. And because it's so high definition, it's not going to get distorted.
Awesome. And SRBC Monitoring and Protection Program also just says, thank you. This is very interesting. So.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, there's just a few more minutes. We have time for a few more questions. If anyone else would like their questions answered about underwater drones that Dan can talk about. I put the link to the Facebook page so that you can check out those videos and see some of the other work that Dan's been working on. That is in the chat, so feel free to wander that direction so you can check them out. All right. Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed speaking with us because we loved hearing from you. And everyone, so here's what's coming up on the 25th. So we've got our grass whisperer joining us again to talk about pasturing water systems from simple to complex. So it should be fun to have Troy present on some watering systems. And thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope that you enjoyed another session of Watershed Wednesdays.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.